Right, here we go. It's the evening. Someone's streaming a film in one room. Someone else is on a video call. There's a phone scrolling, a games console's pulling down a patch, a doorbell watching the front step, and a fridge, genuinely, checking in with the mothership about something. All of it's working, all at once. Feels instant, and it feels like nothing's happening. Here's the thing though. Every single one of those devices, the telly, the phone, the console, the doorbell, and the fridge, as far as the entire internet is concerned, they're all exactly one address. Your whole house shows up as a single dot on the map. 20 odd devices, all talking to different places at the same moment, and the replies come flooding back. And not one of them ever lands on the wrong device. Ever. And that's the trick. And it's held the internet together, on sellotape, for 30 years. Let's start with why any of this has to happen at all. An internet address, the old kind, IP version 4, the one that looks like 4 numbers with dots between them, is really just a 32-bit number wearing a costume, and 32 bits gives you about 4.3 billion different addresses. That sounds like a lot, but it's for the whole planet. 4.3 billion sounded like an absolute fortune back in the 80s, when a computer was a fridge-sized thing in a university basement, and the notion that you'd one day own 5 of them, plus a watch that's also on the internet, would have had you quietly sectioned. We ran out. We properly ran out. The central pool that hands fresh addresses to the world was formally scraped empty on the 3rd of February 2011. There are no new ones, and there haven't been for over a decade. Unless you want to buy one off some dodgy bloke on a street corner. So someone looked at this coming years out and asked a very simple question. What if most of those addresses didn't have to be real at all? Think about your house. Nothing inside it actually needs a genuine, globally unique internet address. Your phone doesn't need to be directly reachable from a laptop in Osaka. It just needs to talk to your router. So we carved out a few ranges of addresses. We declared them fake or private, free for anyone at all to use inside their own network, and banned outright from the public internet. That's what those 192.168 numbers are, the ones you've seen on the back of every router you've ever owned. They're not real addresses. There are millions of houses running the exact same 192.168.1.1 gateway right this second, and it causes not one bit of bother, because those numbers never leave the building. Which is grand for talking to your own router. But the second you want something off the actual internet, you've got a problem. You send a request out with a fake return address on it. The reply has nowhere to go. So the router does something a little bit cheeky. On the way out, it rips your fake private address off the front of the packet and staples its own real public address on it instead. The one real address that the whole house is sharing. Now the reply has somewhere to come home to, the router. This is network address translation, or NAT, a translator sitting at your front door, swapping the fake address for the real one on the way out, and swapping it back on the way in. And that, right there, is where the whole thing should collapse. Because think about it, you haven't got just one device, you've got 20 or 100, and every single one of them is now firing packets out with the exact same real address stapled onto the front. The telly and the phone are both talking to, say, the same streaming service. 2 replies come back to your router, both addressed to that same one public address, both from the same place. Which one's for the telly? Which one's for the phone? The router is staring at 2 identically looking replies with no way on earth to tell them apart. It's essentially a postman standing at a house with 20 letters, and everyone who lives there has the same name. Correct address, but useless. He can get the post to the right building all day long. He hasn't a clue which door inside it goes to. And the fix is a clever bit, and it's the entire reason this works. It's called a port. Alongside the address, every connection also carries a port number. Just a number, 16 bits of it. So anywhere from 1 to 65,535. And here's the way to hold it. The address is the building, and the port is the apartment number inside it. The address gets the packet to the right building, and the port gets it to the right door. So when the telly's packet heads out, the router doesn't just swap the address. It also picks a spare port number, say 49,152, writes it on, and jots a line in a little notebook. 49,152, that's the telly. The phone's packet goes out with a different port, say 52,000, and another line, 52,000, that's the phone, goes right into the notebook too. Now the replies come home, both to the one public address, yes, but one's addressed to port 49,152 and the other to 52,000. So the router does a quick lookup in its notebook. 49,152, that's the telly. 52,000, that's the phone. And it sends each one exactly where it belongs. Never gets it wrong. That notebook is called the translation table, and it's the whole magic trick. Every active connection in your house is one line in it. The router is quietly keeping score of hundreds of these at a time, rewriting port numbers on the way out, reading them on the way back in, thousands of times a second, and you've never once thought about it. Quick bit of pedantry, because someone always turns up in the comments. What I've just described, many devices sharing one address, using ports, is technically not plain NAT. Its proper name is NAT overload, or PAT, and if you want the official standards body word for it, it's NAPT, Network Address Port Translation. Plain old NAT just swapped one address for the other, one for one, which saves you precisely nothing. The port trick is what turns one address into thousands. Everybody calls the whole lot NAT anyway, including me for the rest of this video. Now, you might be doing sums in your head. 65,535 ports. Does that mean the whole house caps at that number of connections and then the internet just stops? You'd think so. It's the sort of thing that sounds sharp to say at a party. But no, because a connection isn't identified by your port on its own. It's identified by the whole set of it. Your address, your port, the place you're talking to, the port at their end, and the protocol. All five. Which means two different devices can go out on the very same port number, as long as they're talking to different places. The rest of the set is different, so the router can still tell them apart. The real ceiling is miles past 65,535. It's a limit per destination, not a limit on the whole house. Here's a side effect that turned out to matter enormously. Think about what NAT does to anything you're trying to get back in. A packet turns up at your router, unasked for, unsolicited, for some machine on the internet. The router looks at it, has a quick look in the notebook for a matching line, and it finds nothing, because nothing inside is asked for this, so it just bins it. It's got nowhere to send, so it doesn't. Which means purely by accident, your NAT router ignores basically all the unsolicited junk arriving from the internet. And for years, people have called this a firewall. Your NAT is protecting you. But it's not a firewall. And I want to be careful here, because it's one of the most repeated wrong things in all of networking. The standards people have said it out loud in writing. NAT is not a security feature. The junk gets dropped not because of any security decision. It's dropped because the router has genuinely no idea where to send it. You get a bit of protection as a happy accident, the same way a front door you fitted to keep the rain out also happens to slow down a burglar. It's useful, sure, but it's not a security system. So don't go firing your actual firewall. That accidental protection has a flip side, and you'll have met it. Say you actually want to reach a device in your house from the outside. You're running a little game server for your friends, or you've got a security camera you want to check from work, or you're self-hosting something for the crack. Now NAT's helpfulness is squarely in your way. The request comes in, the router checks the notebook, sees nothing, and bins it, exactly as designed. Your camera never even hears the knock, so you have to go in and write a line in the notebook yourself. Anything that arrives on this specific port, send to the camera. We call that port forwarding. Every time you've dug through your router settings to get a console or a camera or a server working from the outside, that's where you're at, manually punching a hole in the very thing we've just spent 5 minutes admiring. And it gets properly orchered when two devices, both stuck behind their own NAT, need to talk straight to each other. Two people on a video call, two consoles trying to connect for a game. Neither one can just knock on the other's door because neither one has a public door. They're both tucked behind a router on fake addresses, completely invisible from the outside. This is the actual reason online games are forever going on about your NAT type. Is it open, moderate, strict? That's the game quietly working out how badly your particular router is going to get in the way of direct connection to someone else. The fix is a whole small industry of workarounds with helpful names like stun or turn. The rough idea, both devices phone a helpful server sitting out in the public internet, and that server tells each of them what their public address and port actually look like from the outside. Because remember, they don't even know their own real address. That's the router's. Then it tries to introduce the two of them directly. And when that fails, with the more paranoid routers it does fail, everything just gets bounced through a middleman server up in the cloud instead. Which works. But now some company is paying to shuttle your game chatter back and forth all day purely because your router wouldn't cooperate. And you're probably paying for that a little bit too. Every bit of this exists for one reason: to undo NAT. Right, and if you thought one layer of this was plenty, your internet provider is very possibly doing the entire thing again on top of you. Because here's the grim part: there aren't even enough real addresses to give every house one anymore. So a lot of providers have started sharing a single public address across whole batches of customers. You and a few hundred of your neighbours all sat behind one more layer of NAT up at the provider's kit. It's called carrier grade NAT, or CG NAT, and it means that one real address I told you your house was, you might not even have that. You might be sharing it with half your street, and none of you are any the wiser. Now, there is a proper fix for every bit of this, a real one, and it's called IPv6, and it's been sitting here finished and ready to go for longer than some of you watching have been alive. The whole problem was 4 billion addresses running dry. IPv6's answer is to make the address absurdly comically bigger. Instead of 32 bits, it's 128. And because every bit doubles the pool, it isn't 4 times bigger. It's a number with 39 digits in front of it. Enough addresses to hand one to every grain of sand on Earth and barely make a dent. Enough that every device you will ever own can carry its own real, genuine, globally unique address, and nobody ever has to do any of this translation nonsense ever again. So why are we still here, sellotaping port numbers into a notebook? Because NAT worked. It worked so well. That's the whole tragedy of it. NAT was only ever meant to be a stopgap, a hack to buy a few years until everyone shifted over to IPv6. And it turned out to be such a good hack, so cheap and so utterly invisible, that it quietly removed the emergency. Why go through the enormous grief of moving your whole network onto a new protocol when the old one, held together with this clever little port trick, just keeps working? The temporary fix outlived the deadline it was buying time for. It has become the most permanent thing in your house. There's a bit of 1990s duct tape sitting inside your router right now, invisibly rewriting numbers on every single packet that leaves your home, and will very likely still be doing it long after you've replaced the router, or the telly, and quite possibly the house. So 20 devices, one address, every reply comes home to the exact same one, thousands of times a second, and you never even gave it a second thought. There's a translator standing at your front door with a very, very good notebook. DNS found the address. TCP and UDP carried the data. BGP got you across the planet. And NAT is a quiet little liar standing at your door, telling the entire internet that your whole house is just one machine, and it's getting clean away with it. Anyway, that's NAT. Next time someone tells you their phone is on the internet, you can tell them it isn't. Not really. It's on a fake address, behind a translator, barring a real one, a few thousand times every second. Same as everything else in the house, and the internet hasn't the faintest idea. Right, that's me. Subscribe if you want the next one, or don't. I'm not your ma. Mind yourselves.